Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children 18 plus. You are tuned in to the Loan Officer Podcast with me, Dustin Owen, and the hostess with the mostest,
Laura Zuluaga.
Zulu. So what's going on, Laura? You and I are back at it again.
We had too much fun last time.
We did have too much fun. Yeah, normally back in the day, I'd be like, I think JC would say, what's poppin'? We need to find your own version of what's poppin'. Just like I'm going to get good at the cadence, right? Because it used to go, and my main man, JC, and he would say, John Coleman. I need to figure out, am I hostess with the mostest? Zulu. And then you'd be like, Laura Zuluaga. I fucked it up again. God dog it. God
One of these days you'll get it right.
Yeah.
Or probably not.
Or probably not. You know what? Maybe that'd be the whole new shtick, right? The whole new shtick is I won't get it right, and that's okay. How about this for our OG viewers? Now, if you're listening on Spotify and Apple, you can't see anything. I'm sorry about your luck. But if you're on YouTube, I busted out the centerpieces all over again.
Go Knights, baby.
Yeah, go Knights. I actually went to a basketball game that they almost pulled off an upset.
Oof,
not quite, though.
Number one.
But, so if you're watching us on YouTube, you can see it. If you're on Spotify and Apple, you can't. But I have a Buffalo Trace whiskey bottle. I have a UCF football helmet. And I have this paperweight that I think I gave to my dad when my dad was probably my age or younger for Father's Day.
Did he give it back to you?
Yeah. Did he give it back to me? Or maybe my parents were moving a few years ago and it made it into one of the boxes where they didn't want that stuff anymore. I was like, wait a minute, I gave that to Dad for his Father's Day.
Feelings about it, but
yeah, but no, back in the day, if you're OG T-Lopper, then you would recognize that part of our shtick, part of our thing was we always had a centerpiece, and that centerpiece would always change. And then we got to a point where fans were sending us centerpieces, and we got to feature their centerpiece, and we'd give them a shout out. I figured, you know what, as we're doing this rebrand, revamp, why not bring back the centerpieces?
Let's bring it back.
Yeah, you know who we brought back? Our producer extraordinaire, Karina. What's going on, Karina? How you doing today?
I'm great. How are you guys?
I'm doing fab. How was the weekend?
It was good. I actually did nothing all weekend, so
Oh,
I loved it.
You're a 24-year-old who did nothing all weekend.
But usually you ask me and I'm like, I was out, so I finally relaxed.
I need to do one of those weekends where I do nothing for a little bit, take it easy.
Yeah, I don't think you and I have that in us.
No, I get FOMO, and then I feel like
No, I
I'm
have
wasting
FOMO
my
too.
weekend, even though my body could probably use a break.
Yeah, we have both my wife and I had this issue where we sit around and after 4 hours, we're like, we're such bums. We weren't productive. We should have done something today. I'm like, or we're in our 40s and it's okay to do nothing for a day.
When I look at our calendar and we have nothing going on, Juan gets excited, and then something always comes up, and I have this problem where I can't say no to fun.
Yes, you and I have that same issue. Are you a FOMO person, Karina?
Yes,
you are.
badly, yes.
Yeah, so you could be in your PJs, no makeup on. You get that text and you're going to
I'm going, yeah.
You're going.
Yeah, for sure.
See, that's what life's all about.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you got to live it up. Let's do this real quick. We're going to take a quick pause. We're going to hear from today's show sponsor, but then I want to get into the actual topic. Laura came in this morning after being up in New England for the Patriots game, so I do want to hear about that. Yeah, huge win if you're a Patriots fan. If you're a Texans fan, holy cow, what was wrong with CJ? He just vomited the ball all game and turned it over. But no, I want us to dive into questions that Laura had for me before we turn on the cameras, which is hey, is a 50-year mortgage really a real thing? What the heck does Trump mean about $200 billion to make interest rates cheaper? We can now use 401ks and 529s to purchase real estate. And I was like, well, you could have always used your 401k, but I think they're making changes. 529s is a new thing. So we're going to do a deep dive into it, plus hear all about Laura's trip to watch her beloved Patriots. But first, let's hear from today's show sponsor. Y'all, something big is happening at Lower Mortgage. And if you're paying attention to this industry, you've probably noticed. In just the last month alone, Lower has added some serious horsepower. We're talking top producers representing over $350 million in volume. These aren't rookies kicking tires. These are heavy hitters who've done their homework and made the move. That should tell you something. On top of that, Lower just acquired Movoto, a top 5 real estate portal with over 150 visitors just last year. Before that, they brought in Neat Labs, and now they're launching Lower OS, a next-gen mortgage platform that's cutting loan delivery times down to 10 days. This isn't a company standing still. Lower doubled their volume last year, and they're projecting another 40 to 50% growth this year. The best in the business are taking notice, and they're voting with their feet. Here's the reality. The companies that are going to win in this market are the ones investing in technology, building real infrastructure, and competing at scale. Lower is doing all of that. They're going head to head with the Rockets of the world, and they're built for originators, not against them. If you're a producer who wants to be a part of something that's actually going somewhere, not just surviving, but growing, this is the moment. Lower mortgage, the momentum is real. If you're a producer who wants to be a part of something that's actually going somewhere, not just surviving, but growing, this is the moment. Lower mortgage, the momentum is real. You can check them out and find more information by going to company.lower.com. Or you can always reach out to my dude, Craig Montgomery, and make sure you tell him T-Lop said what's up. All right, so we are back. Laura, first and foremost, how was your trip to New England?
Cold, but so worth it. I had never been to Gillette, so that was like a big check-off list type of thing for me. And when Brady was around, I kept pushing it off. We went to games all over the nation, but never made it to Gillette Stadium. So huge opportunity. And I told my husband, I said, it's a playoff game. If we win, then it's obviously onto the AFC Championship. We were rooting for the Bills, thinking, we get to play at home if they win. Broncos win, and then we know what happens to poor guy Bo Nix.
Yeah.
So things are looking good.
This wasn't your first Patriots game, but it's your first game at the home stadium.
Correct, yeah. Being in Florida, we've seen him play in Jacksonville, Miami, Tampa. My husband and I actually went to the Super Bowl, Brady's last Super Bowl in Atlanta. That was awesome.
Well, you were at the Atlanta game?
Not the 28-3.
Okay.
Thank God, I would have probably died. But at the Atlanta, it was in Atlanta against the Rams.
Okay.
It wasn't, if you're not a Patriots or a Rams fan, I guess if you're a Rams fan, it sucks because they lost. But if you're not a Patriots fan, it was not the greatest game, like super low scoring. But if you're a Patriots fan, you get to watch your team live win a Super Bowl. Little do you know it's Tom Brady's last Super Bowl as a Patriot. It's all pretty epic.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. But and the game you went to was like your stereotypical, it's January, we're in New England, it's playoff football. What was the air temperature, like 20 degrees?
It felt a lot colder than that. But, it was funny. When we were packing, I said, let's just bring our ski gear because we know that works for us. And we thought we would be the only, like the Floridians, who are these guys?
Yeah.
Everybody was in their ski gear because it was snowing the whole time. So if you weren't in waterproof clothing, that wasn't going to be fun for you. And at different points of the game, it did slow down a little bit or it even stopped slightly. But fourth quarter, it was just, you could barely see it was coming down so hard. But it was awesome. And, Patriots win. Got to see them in their home stadium and got to see Tom Brady's statue, the whole nine. Spent some money at the gift shop. It was fun.
Yeah, you told me you went drunk shopping.
Yeah, I don't recommend that.
Is that is that normal for you?
No.
It's not. So that's not
I don't
like
shopping. I'm not a shopper.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not a shopper. I'm not a fan of it. I rather order something online and be done with it. But I'm a huge Patriots fan. Walking in there was like a little kid walking into a candy store. I had multiple hangers in one hand. I'm handing stuff off to my husband. Here, hold this. I'm gonna go grab more stuff. Grabbing stuff for my sister. So it was awesome.
Yeah. So you had a good time, but you don't maybe recommend tailgating, then drinking at the game, then drinking after the game.
Post game tailgating.
Then you went shopping.
Before the post-game tailgating, yes.
Okay, there we go.
So you were responsible.
You went and celebrated your shopping with post-game tailgating. Love it. Karina, you ever drunk shopped?
No, that's why I said that sounds fun. I need to try that for sure.
Sounds fun, but not responsible. Don't do it.
Well, Karina likes to go on these cruises, so I just imagine you getting you go to port, you go to Senor Frogs, you start doing shots. Mm-hmm. Now all of a sudden they have all the shops, and then you're getting lured in.
She comes in with just 17 T-shirts that all say Bahamas.
Souvenirs or bags and
very cool. So, Lori, where do you want to start? Because you had some really good questions. And I love your questions because, we get these questions. If you're in the mortgage industry, these are questions that if you're not getting them, please know that your realtors and your borrowers are thinking them. And we have to be able to have our talking points ready to go so we can explain the world as we know it. We have 50-year mortgages being floated out still. We have the president talking about basically squeezing $200 billion
from money.
Fannie and Freddie in order to purchase mortgage-backed securities. But the latest news has been, besides like trying to take over by Greenland in the financial sector, the main news has been more about utilizing a 401k or utilizing a 529 to purchase real estate.
Yeah, and this is something that pertains to me as an investor, right? Because I have this 401k, and you have it with financial advisor, and they're running and you're paying broker fees and whatnot. And we've discussed like, wait, are we better off putting this into more real estate? Because as you know, we love real estate. So is this a way to leverage it? Is it a good way for a first-time home buyer to get their feet on the ground and running using these funds?
So when it comes to the 401k, here's kind of my thoughts in general. Like if you're a real estate investor, first and foremost, nothing that is being discussed has been put into law, right? So it's just like throwing ideas out there, as I love to say, they're spaz tweets. And I know they're done on Truth Social, and I know that Twitter's now called X, but to me, they're all tweets. So if you're using that type of platform and it's 2 a.m. and you're just like vomiting information, it's like a spaz.
I drunk shop, they spaz tweet.
You would say yes, yes. You drunk shop, you drunk shop, and they spaz tweet. But it was spaz tweeted utilizing a 401k. But here's the truth. For as long as I've been a lender, you've been able to leverage your 401k to purchase real estate. Now, that was if it was your primary home. And I would like to believe anything that we're doing is to make home ownership more affordable and more accessible for people wanting to buy their primary home. So I couldn't imagine that they're going to do a loophole to help you and Juan add to your real estate empire. Now, I do know that you can purchase real estate through your IRA. Like a self-directed IRA allows people to purchase real estate, and maybe I can bring on an expert who knows how to do that. Our friend Gio knows how to do that. He was telling me the other day that he traveled the country early on in his career, literally giving workshops and teaching seminars on how someone could leverage their IRA to purchase investment properties. And what I loved about what he was doing is not only was he presenting and coaching, but he also was the investor who had gone into markets like Orlando and Las Vegas, purchased homes on the auction, on the courthouse steps, rehabbed them, and then he was selling these investments to his audience. Yes.
That sounds like Gio.
That sounds like Gio. Yeah, one of the most successful entrepreneurs I think you and I know personally,
Absolutely.
Right? But that's not for today's show, but just know you can do that. What the administration, and not the administration, but the president is floating out there is right now, if you and Juan wanted to buy your primary home, right? You all wanted to upgrade. You wanted to go out and live out in the suburbs because now you all live, downtown Orlando. You wanted the yard and the picket fence and all of that. You could borrow against your 401k for down payment and closing costs. But here's the catch. Not every 401k will allow you to. And which I remember the first time I learned that the hard way. I had a borrower tell me that she was using her 401k to purchase a home. And I didn't even think to ask her or recommend, hey, you should call them first. No, hey, you should call your administrator first. She just knew, and I knew, like pretty openly, it's common for people to borrow against their 401k for funds to close, down payment and closing costs. But not every 401k administrator allows for it. And it's rare, but it does happen. And hers was one of the rare.
She was one of those rare
Yeah,
ones.
so we ended up not being able to do a loan for her because she couldn't come up with the 5% down on her closing costs. So when it comes to what the administration's proposing, they're basically saying you're not borrowing. Because when you borrow against your 401k, you owe the money back. But you may be able to withdraw the money tax-free and penalty-free.
Penalty-free, that's huge.
Yeah, because right now if people want to pull money out of their 401k, you pay a 10% penalty and you're going to pay capital gains tax on the money that you earned. Well, what if I could pull that money out penalty-free and possibly even tax-free? So, okay, cool. That would help more people buy real estate. My issue, though, is we don't have a national crisis going on with people like not wanting to buy homes. Like that's not the issue. The issue is homeownership's not available and it's not affordable.
Pricing, yeah. Here in Orlando, we see it firsthand.
Correct. So what ends up happening is we need incentives to build properties. I need an incentive that I can go to you and Juan and say, if you all sell 10 of your properties over the next 2 years, I won't tax you on the money you earned. Right? That's the incentive that we need. I want to incentivize sellers to sell. I don't need to incentivize buyers to buy. Now, I'm not I'm not trying to be anti helping home buyers make home ownership more affordable. I'm doing the exact opposite. But what I'm saying is I don't think it's through 401ks. You putting down an extra 10 or 20% on your home purchase saves you $60 to $120 a month.
Now, what if the program was that you could use all the funds in your, because right now it's just for a down payment, correct?
Well, I mean, it's to purchase a home. It's to purchase a home.
I mean, I know it's still very vague and not really even written out, but so you could use all your funds if you were to find.
Yeah.
I mean, good luck finding a house in Orlando.
Well, correct. So you're assuming someone has $400,000 to $500,000 in their 401k.
Correct.
I would tell you this: the people who have $400,000 to $500,000 in their 401k,
they don't have a problem buying.
They don't need this.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't need this. The people who need this are in their 20s, they're in their 30s, and they're looking at home ownership and they're like, it's just not attainable. But typically it's not attainable because the prices are too high or there's not enough affordable housing available to purchase. And I don't know them tapping 20 or 30 grand into their 401k is going to make a dent, right? Is that $150 a month going to be the difference between them buying and not buying? And then
I would say not so.
For most times, not so. I'm not saying it won't help some, but it's not going to be the answer or the solution. I mean, the solution is we are short 5 million units. 5 million units. We were talking about our friend Gio. How do you help Gio go out and build 20 neighborhoods right now where his average sales price is $350?
Incentives. It has to be incentives.
Yes, like we have to make that possible, whether it's making the land cheap to acquire, maybe it's removing some of the red tape at the municipality standpoint.
I mean, I worked, I managed a civil engineering firm in my previous life,
yes.
say. And I would see all the hurdles and, how long it takes, how expensive it is for a developer wanting to bring more housing availability to a local area. And the amount of work, as I think the general public doesn't understand how much it takes to take that piece of land and turn it into a community, to turn it into apartments, into, single family homes, whatever the scenario may be. It's not as simple as, we have the land and now we're going to go ahead and build it. That would be a dream come true for every developer.
Yes.
And it would bring other developers and developer like our friend Gio that opportunity, and maybe that's the answer.
And that has been the answer, but I think that's a lot harder to do from the federal government standpoint. I also have this belief that, look, I'm anti both parties, just FYI. Anyone who tunes in, I am as purple gets. So with that, I'm pretty disenfranchised in general. Oh, it's 2026. We have midterm elections coming up, and typically when you have the same party that's in the House, the presidency, the Senate, right? You don't do well in the midterms. I believe a lot of this spaz tweeting is more of political, like posturing, peacocking, if you want to call it, to try to get moderates and even people who are more liberal to vote for the party that's currently in control than it is something that's actually going to be tangible, right? It's like all sizzle with minimal substance, because the solution is we have to find ways to look at investors like you and your husband and give you financial incentives that make you want to sell 5 or 10 of your 15 properties. We look at Blackstone. How do we incentivize them to want to sell some of their properties? Then we look at developers like Gio. How do we incentivize them to go build more?
They were trying to block Blackstone from being able to come in and...
Yeah, you know what? That was in the news as well, and we covered it a little bit, but we didn't cover it in detail. I have not done the research. I have only read from people who have done the research. And the people who have done the research say, although they own a lot of homes, it still is like 1 to 2% of all the homes. So it's supposedly not as big of an issue as people want to make it. Yeah, and I'm not ready to like go to bed on that answer, but that is the answer that the people that I look up to and follow tend to talk about when you're looking at institutional investors being handcuffed or prevented from being able to go out and purchase more. It's actually like too many Laura and Juans own too much real estate. The baby boomers own their primary, plus they own a second home, plus when their parents passed and they got to inherit that home and that one's a rental. Now all of a sudden you have someone who's in their 60s or 70s, they own 3 properties. Back in the day, you didn't have that, right? Back in the day, you hit your 70s, you own no properties because your ass was going into like a retirement home, right? And we're just not doing that. Boomers are staying in their homes. They're bringing in healthcare to the home versus sending them out. So that's what we're up against. But please know, yes, you can use a 401k to purchase real estate. You can borrow against it. And if they made these rules to where it was more flexible to just liquidate your 401k, yes, more people would have home ownership made available to them than less people. So it's not going to hurt. I just don't see that as the solution.
Also, the the long-term play of that, if people playing with their 401k, nobody has pensions like we did in previous decades. And
correct. And that was, again, I'm not a financial advisor. I play one on TV, right? But I will tell you this, as someone who has had multiple financial advisors, has a really good wealth advisor today, my investments earn me 8 to 12% annually. Let's just say 8% compounded annually to be conservative. I don't want to touch that. Like, my home goes up by 3% per year on average.
Yeah, you're still at a loss.
My mortgage payment in a bad interest rate environment is 7%. But when it comes to my mortgage interest, as every year passes, I pay less in interest, right? That's the one benefit of an amortized payment. The downfall is all your interest is front loaded. But the good news is, as every year passes, more goes towards principal, less goes towards interest. But when I look at my investment, it may have been $30,000 today, but tomorrow it's $33,000. So I'm earning 7 or 8 or 9% on $33,000. And then next year it's $37,000. Then next year it's $41,000. So as that money grows, I'm earning 7, 8, 9% on that higher number. You start running the rule of 72, which I'm curious. Are you familiar with the rule of 72?
Yeah, slightly. Not like an expert on it by any means.
Okay, cool. My last co-host, not at all, right? But that's awesome because I coach this and teach this. Rule of 72 is simply, if you take your average rate of return, you divide it into 72, it'll let you know how often your money doubles, right? So Karina's abuela passes. She had a great life, Karina. Don't worry about it. She was 90,
Why
okay?
are we picking on her grandma?
Oh, old people, they die. That's what they do, right? They die. And sometimes they smell really bad. But she was old. She was like 90, had a great life, okay?
Okay, fair.
She passed in her sleep. She was never sick. It was like the best way to go. Right after like a big party too. So it was like even more amazing. But when she passed, like Karina's 24, almost 25 years old, and she gave her $25,000. So Karina could go on a shopping spree, maybe go hang out with you, have some margaritas,
Don't do that.
do some drug shopping. But instead, at 25 years of age, she just put that money into like some kind of a mutual fund or an ETF. You have index fund. Well, it was earning her 8% per year. Okay, well, divide 8 into 72, it goes in there 9 times. So that means by the time that Karina's 34, her $25,000 is $50,000. By the time she is 43, her $50,000 is $100,000. By the time she's 52, her $100,000 is $200,000. You see where I'm going with this? By the time she's ready to retire, because Abuela was so sweet and nice and she passed away and left Karina $25,000, by the time Karina goes to retire, that's $500,000 if she didn't touch it, if she didn't hang out with Zulu and go drunk shopping.
That sounds nice.
I mean, she would have had more fun hanging out with you.
It would have been a great time.
It would have been an amazing time, right? It would have been a fantastic time. So anyhow, that's the rule of 72, and that's another reason why we should be cautious if we're just liquidating our 401k.
And that's kind of my perspective on it, not from a loan side of it, not from a home buyer side of it, but for like looking out for my generation and other generations behind it. It's like people already don't have plans for retirement. Like you hear 30-year-olds that barely have any money set aside, don't have any type of investment. So it's like, what's going to happen? Are we going to work till we're abuela's age and then we don't have any money to leave
Possibly.
our grandchildren?
You know, maybe this generation gets super lucky and robots really do take over. And at which point, like, we just have universal income. All of us just get to party all the time. It's like living in
Zulu World.
Zulu World. There we go. I like that. No, I was thinking of from Hunger Games. What was the capital called?
You lost me there.
Have you not read the books or watched?
No, I have a firm. Listen, let's just get straight to it.
Wait,
no Harry Potter, no Hunger Games, no Game of Thrones.
I'm with you on 2 out of the 3. I'm with you on 2 out of the 3.
No sci-fi, it's essentially.
I don't do sci-fi either. I'm as dude as I am. Like, you've known me now. I probably come across a little bit more frat boy than anything. I do not do like sci-fi. Like I do rom-com. Like you want to watch something with Drew Barrymore and Adam Sandler? I'm in.
All for it. Yeah.
I'm all for it, but I'm not going to do. But I did get into Hunger Games, honestly, because Michelle said to me, my wife said to me when the books came out, she goes, "If you love me, you will read the first 30 pages."
Okay.
Because she gives me shit all the time. I read books, but I don't read fiction. I read all nonfiction.
Yeah, all
right? I like
probably
self-help,
business.
Yeah. And she said, "If you love me, you'll read." And I read 30 pages, and I got hooked. And at that point, I read the whole entire series. I've seen all the movies.
Wow.
Had a crush on Katniss, but who didn't? But anyhow, what I was getting at is the world that we would live in with robots taking over. Maybe these people don't need 401ks. It's kind of like that world if you lived in the Capitol, but you don't know what I'm talking about. The audience does. Karina, do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. It's called the Capitol, isn't it?
Is it? Yeah, they call it the Capitol. I also thought like it was called like Panam or Panam. I can't.
Yes. That's what just showed up. The nation of Panem.
Spell it for me.
Panem is a fictional city located in the Rocky Mountains.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah,
I mean, Rocky Mountains
Near
sounds
the
beautiful.
modern day locations of Salt Lake City, Utah, or Denver.
Beautiful.
There
Thank
you
you
go.
so
That looks
much.
great.
Yeah. What's up, y'all? If you're truly serious about leveling up, breaking through, or bouncing back in your career, more than likely, coaching is going to make sense for you. Rarely does someone achieve the highest level of success by themselves or on their own. They always have some form of a partner, a mentor, or a coach leading them down the right path. At T-Lob's Originator Coaching, you can come and allow us to invest in your future success. There's a reason why we are deemed the #1 coaching community for loan originators. For a small investment, you will be given access to 4 live coaching calls per month. On top of that, we're going to give you 4 live sales trainings per month. And then every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, for 3 hours every day, we have a coach on call. This is your opportunity to get one-on-one for 10 or 15 minutes with either me or one of my certified coaches to go over your unique scenario, your unique idea, or to get feedback on something that you're working on inside of your business. It's free to check us out. Go to our website, tloponline.com, click on the coaching section, and see the various ways that you can let TLOP invest in your future success. So yes, there is an issue if you start using your 401k to purchase real estate and you just liquidated, then where's your retirement investment account going to be? Which is why I was never against someone borrowing against a 401k, because borrow means
just liquidating it.
Yeah, borrow means you pay that shit back, right? Liquidating means you don't have to pay anything back. So that's that. What 529? Do you want to jump into that one?
Yeah, because that's another thing that plays into long term down the road. I mean, you have kids with that kind of a plan in sight.
Yeah, so it's interesting. For those that don't know what a 529 is, a 529 is a college savings plan where you can invest money and that money grows without being taxable, right? So it's a safe haven for you to invest money into an account that's specifically for your children's education. Now, you can use it these days, I do believe, for like private school. If your kid's in high school, go into a private high school. You can use it for trade.
You don't have to wait till college.
You don't have to wait till college. Or if your kid ends up not going to college or your kid doesn't use all the money, then they've even made like certain loopholes to where if you have money left over, you can actually roll some of it into an IRA, like let's say after graduation, or you can leave the money there for like what would be my grandkids, would be my son's kids or my daughter's kids. Or if I have multiple kids, I can always spread
it out.
Yeah, spread it out, right? So Jackson didn't use all of his money. Kendall used all of hers, and now she's going off to get her PhD. If we had money left over in Jackson's account, we could go ahead and use that for Kendall's, right? So that's what a 529 is. But I want to ask you this question before we jump into, should we be able to use money in a 529 to purchase real estate? Because I have several thoughts on it, but I posted about this on Instagram. By the way, if you don't follow us on Instagram, @The Loan Officer Podcast, go ahead and give us a follow. I'm constantly posting content. Actually, I'm not. Karina is, and her sister Ari are. So Karina and Ari are constantly posting content, clips from the show, as well as content we curate specifically for Instagram. So I curated this piece of content. It's one of those green screen videos. And I was giving some commentary. And this guy, he's a total asshole, by the way. He's a friend of mine, right? Total asshole. Been friends with him for 20 years. And he's that guy that, if everything was peaceful and quiet, he would poke a bear just to get commotion going.
Yes.
Which I've never understood. I'm like, what world do you live in that chaos is fun or cool? So anyhow, he commented and he made a comment because I said only rich people have 529s. And he played contrarian and said, no, Dio, only poor people have 529s. Ooh. Because rich people pay for their kids' education out of pocket.
Okay.
And I was just curious, would you say that only poor people and middle class people have 529s, or would you say that's something for upper middle class to wealthy?
I would probably say middle class to upper middle class, maybe the lower tier of your, high end. And my only reasoning for that would be they have that money invested elsewhere where they're earning, some of those numbers we were just talking about, making that money double by the time the kids, 9 and then 8, by the time they're out into college, that money is way more than what their college career would be worth. But I don't fully agree, because there's also some people that are just going to want to have that safe haven knowing that the kids' school is taken care of no matter what happens on with their business decisions.
Correct. This was my take. Like, I know the money I've made. I know the money that I have. I know it puts me in the top 1%. I have a 529. So maybe I'm on the upper echelon of what this guy was talking about. Now, I also know that my two business partners, one did not have a 529, one did, and we all made the same money for 17 years, right? So two of us did.
They have a
one of us
reason for
didn't.
not wanting to have it, or not that you know of?
You know what? We never talked in that type of depth or detail. We just talked in general, like, hey, what are you doing for your kids' college education? And for me, like, going into being a parent, it was the lowest thing on our needs list. The lowest. The last thing I would do if I had extra money was provide for my kids' college savings. I mean, my financial advisor said to me, he's like, Dustin, you can borrow for education, you can't borrow for retirement.
Yeah.
Right. So I made sure I had 6 months reserve. I made sure I was debt free. I made sure I was maxing out my IRA. I made sure I was maxing out my 401k. I was making sure that I was putting money we call it over the fence, right? It's like, you've already done your 401k, you've already done your IRA. Holy crap, I have money left over. What do I do with it? That goes in like a managed fund. And then if I had money left,
then it went to the 529.
Then it went to the 529. Yeah. So like, I had a couple of years where we had crazy bonuses. And for 5 years in a row, I just basically put the entire bonus, split it up between two kids. But to me, when I think about using a 529 for housing, my issue comes back to, I don't think it's a terrible idea. I just don't think it helps that many people, because how many people actually have a 529 for their children? And then those that do, of those people, are they the ones that are struggling with homeownership?
Probably
or is
not,
it
I
no?
would say.
No,
if they have the money to set it aside for college,
Yeah.
then they would also have the money to set it aside for a mortgage.
Yes, there's going to be outliers. Like everything in life, there'll be an outlier.
Of course.
Right? There are people, and I know them, you probably know them too, that sacrifice everything for their children. They sacrifice their marriages, they sacrifice their careers, they sacrifice their own financial well-being, because they have in their mind, their sole responsibility is to provide. Right? So I have witnessed people throughout my career have nothing in a 401k, but their kids go to private school, and they're worried about their kids' college savings, and they're worried about what type of car they're going to buy their kid at 16. Yet these people have $30,000 in credit card debt and nothing saved for retirement, and they're in their 40s, right?
That's a problem.
That's a huge problem. Those people exist. And I'm not here to judge. I just choose to advise and to live differently. But when I look at what a 529 does, and I look at whether or not this is a big deal to allow people to leverage their 529 to buy real estate, like, I'm not going to hate on it, but I don't think it helps that many people. Now, here's who it would help. So my son and my daughter were born into a family that did really well. So because of that, their family stuffed a bunch of money into a 529. Because my children made a decision to go to in-state schools, they both qualified for scholarships, they graduate with money left over. So now my kids are 22, they're 24, and they have, let's just say 20, 30, or 40 grand left over in this account. Would it be freaking awesome to then allow my kids to take that money out of their 529 tax-free and penalty-free to purchase a home? Hell to the yeah, would that be amazing?
Would you rather them do that over rolling into an IRA or another type of investment fund?
Yeah, I think I would, in a perfect world, do both, right? In a perfect world, let's roll what we can into the IRA, and then what's left over you can use for funds to close. Like, yeah, in a perfect world. But again, we're getting ahead of ourselves. It helps so few people. It helps. Like, Karina, I'm asking you a question because you're closest to being like college age. How many of your friends had college savings plans that their parents set up for them? None. Did you? No. Right? Most don't. The people we're trying to help, middle America, right? The people, no, like they're living paycheck to paycheck, right? Like these are parents who probably haven't been taught the basics of like financial literacy. Therefore, their children are not growing up and graduating with money left over in their 529.
It would also concern me that kids would start to choose, and obviously this hasn't been written, so we don't know what the limitations of it are, but it would concern me that kids would start to choose buying a home over continuing their education, right? Because you mentioned, okay, maybe Kendall doesn't, has money left over at the end of her undergrad, but a good majority of people move on to some sort of master program or a doctorate, if she decides to go that route. That money could go towards that, but would it maybe put kids in a limbo of, hey, I'd rather put that money towards a house versus continue my education?
Oh, that's an interesting one. Man, how spicy do we want to get right now? Because I think we put too much emphasis on education. Like,
okay.
Like wait, and this is someone who has her MBA versus someone who does not. Now, I believe in education. I've gone on to go through a Future Leaders program. I have the highest designation you can get in my industry, my CMB.
But that's all education, right? A lot of times we think college is the only education, right? Maybe it's a trade school. And think about the shortage. We see it looking for vendors in, all types of trades with our property management. I told my husband, I said, if I had a kid that didn't want to go to college and we live in Central Florida, please go to AC school. Do you know how much money we spend on AC repairs, AC replacements? For some reason, in September, we replaced like 3 ACs. I was like, okay, that's enough. Bats come in threes. That's it. No more broken ACs. So it's not just college. Let's call it a trade school. Or let's say they do go a route where a doctor, a dentist, where it's not an option whether you're going to continue or not. If that's where you want to go, a lawyer, that's what it's going to take. I would rather them take those funds that are left over and apply towards that because we know that's not cheap.
Correct. Yes, 100%. Like if my kid wanted to go on for postgraduate, whether it was MBA, whether it was to be a doctor, an attorney, get their PhD, whatever the case may be, yes, I would say let's use these funds for education and let's prolong homeownership because maybe they're not ready for homeownership. If you're still in school, you probably don't know where you're going to live after you graduate, how much money you're going to make. There's definitely things that we can do for people that have 529 money left over. You talked about going into the trades. How cool would it be if, again, one of my children graduated from school, whether it's high school or college, and they had money in a 529 that I put there for them? What if they could use it to start their business? What if they could use it to purchase a home? So I'm all for this. I really am. I am pro giving people these opportunities, these loopholes. But again, we are talking about a minority, not the majority, because the majority, they don't have 529s. The majority.
Yeah, I didn't have a 529.
No.
Or my sisters.
No. Yeah.
Or actually, come to think of it, a lot of people that I knew.
Yeah, I was very fortunate. Like I talk a lot about my school bus driving mom and my electrician dad. But the one thing that they did do is they did Florida prepaid. So tuition only. So it wasn't books, it wasn't housing. But my parents afforded me an opportunity where they prepaid for me to go to community college for 2 years, and then they prepaid for me to go to university for 2 years. Now, I opted to go to university for all 4 years, at which point the money that they set aside for tuition ran out after year 3. But they then gave me the opportunity to live at home, commute 30 minutes to school, And then my mom said, if you live at home, I'll still continue buying groceries because I've been doing it for the past 18 years. Why not do it for another 4? Right? Plus, she got to see me, and like moms just love to see their kids. And I was fortunate. I was lucky. Like so few of my friends growing up in the neighborhood that I grew up in, going to the schools that I went to, did they have. So again, we can continue talking about 401ks and 529s. I don't think that's getting to a solution that helps the masses. Which
it's not the root issue.
It's not. No, it's not. And it is another example of, quite honestly, it's probably giving advantages to those that need it the least. And I hate the scoring game. Like, I hate because you got something, I should get something. Like, no, it's just like life's not fair. We all are better than someone else, but we all are probably chasing someone who has it better than us, right?
Hopefully.
Well, yes, right? But it's like, if you grew up in a certain neighborhood, in a certain household, in a certain demographic with certain low income, it's probably at a major disadvantage compared to many other people in your area, your state, or even your country.
Yeah, that's not what's holding you back, having that 529 or not.
No, but when you start comparing yourself to people in Brazil, you start comparing yourself to people in South Africa.
I always say I'm born and lived up until I was 9 in Colombia. Poverty in a country like Colombia, which, it's a third world country, but it's an advanced third world country, I would say. Poverty there versus here. I mean, the poor here are the rich there.
Yeah. So it's like, I guess what I was getting at is like, just in general, perspective is a bitch, but it's a bitch in a good way because it reminds us, although we think we have it bad, someone else has it worse.
Yeah.
Right.
Mindset plays such a huge factor there.
Yep. But anyhow, so like that's been my take. You were asking the questions off camera. Like, let's talk about it on the show. We didn't talk 50-year mortgage. The world, according to Dustin Owen, bad idea. Bad idea. Short answer. We don't have a secondary market that wants a 50-year mortgage, right? I can only make mortgages that Wall Street wants to invest in. Wall Street and its investors don't want a 50-year mortgage. That. So we'll start and stop there because that right there tells me it's a bad idea. If you looked at the numbers, it doesn't make housing that much more affordable. You're maybe talking about $100 to $150 per month. No, it's like, okay, $100, $150 a month cheaper, 50-year mortgage compared to 30-year mortgage. Again, let's help Geo build a starter house profitably for $100,000 less. That saves someone $600 a month. Like that's
a difference.
Yes, like let's solve the insurance crisis in states like Florida, and all of a sudden that saves $90 a month, right? $90 a month is about $15,000 in purchase price.
Property taxes.
Well, property taxes is a whole nother one.
Those.
Yes.
Not fun.
Yeah. So you have property taxes. Well, the funny thing about property taxes is like, look, we want to have hospitals and roads and cops and teachers and fire people, right? Like
all the support.
So we need taxes. We have to raise the revenue. So if you don't have property taxes, you got to raise the money somewhere, right? So then it's like, well, where am I going to raise the money? Is it going to be liquor tax,
sales
cigarette
taxes,
tax?
It's just going to come out of another pool of money.
Yeah, as much as you travel, you go to Europe, you have VAT on everything, right? So VAT taxes on just about anything that you buy. It ought to be interesting. So, I mean, kudos for this.
It's a good place to go drunk shopping because then you get your taxes back. I never thought of that.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Oh, look at that. To try to put a bow on today's episode, I give, and I said this in that Instagram post, I give an A for effort, right? To the spaz tweeters out there, which are really just Trump and Pulte, but to the spaz tweeters, I give an A for effort because they're at least trying to do something. Where I get annoyed is I think a lot of it's pandering for the 2026 midterm elections. So it's a little bit of peacocking. And at the end of the day, I don't think that any of this combined, the 50-year mortgage, the 401k, the 529, I don't think that solves the real issue. The real issue is we are 5 million homes short. We got to go out and build 5 million homes between now and yesterday. And then all of a sudden we can flood the market with supply. Anyone who has studied fourth grade economics, supply and demand, the minute you have more supply than you do demand, prices come down. Prices come down, affordability comes down. That's what we need. We can incentivize developers, or we can incentivize the people who own all these properties to sell them through tax credits or grants or tax breaks. Our last thing that we didn't cover, and Karina, we're like way over. Do you know how much time we're at right now?
42 minutes.
We're at 42? Oh, that's not that bad. Okay. We didn't talk about the $200 billion. Remember you asked me about that. How much have you read up on Trump saying that Fannie and Freddie are going to spend $200 billion in purchase mortgage-backed securities?
I just saw, it was more of the headlines, which I mean, I know that's a horrible way to go about news, right? Because that's how they get you. But that's a big number to talk about.
Yeah. So I, by the way, love the headlines. I'm going to forget it tomorrow. Right? I mean, so the headlines at least keep me, like, I have a general understanding of what's going on.
Keeps you current.
It keeps me current. But look, y'all, I'm not someone who's going to read an article and be like, oh, I know this topic inside and out. I'm going to tell you, I need about 2,000 hours. Let me go work in an industry for 5 years. Let me put in my 2,000 hours.
My opinion on it.
Yeah, then I can give you in my humble experience, right? Like, not even in my humble opinion, but in my humble experience. Before that, like, I just don't know enough. So I'm not going to have any type of like feet in the sand or heels in the sand, like opinion on something. So sometimes I do believe the headlines about what I need. Now I'll grab someone like you or Juan or Gio or Carlos, like, like we have a friend who's a federal judge. Okay. If I want to really have an answer about anything that's judicial,
I'm going to go to him.
I go to him. Right. And I even know that he is one person with tons of experience that gives me perspective. If I want to know anything about war, I go to my friends that have been to war. Right. I'm going to take I'm not going to take an article about it. If I want to talk to someone about medical procedures, I'm going to listen to my nurse, right, who happens to be my sister-in-law, and let her talk to me about it. So I'm not anti-headlines because I think most of us just seem to know generally, hey, what's happening in the world around us. Yeah, and think about this. The thing that sucks about headlines, they only give us surface level what's happening in the world. There's so many other things happening in our states,
it's hard to keep
in our countries. Yeah, you can't keep up. So anyhow, sorry about that rabbit hole. Just went down like this massive rabbit hole. Bring us back up. So what Trump and Bill Pulte are looking to do is they're trying to make interest rates cheaper. And because no politician can wave a magic wand and impact mortgage rates because they're nothing more than securities that are bought, sold, and traded on Wall Street, then you can manipulate them through either quantitative easing or quantitative tightening. So back in the day, all of that quantitative easing was coming out of the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve, when they wanted mortgage rates to become cheaper, the Federal Reserve started printing money and purchasing mortgage-backed securities. So all of a sudden, that fourth grade supply and demand means I have all of these people demanding my product, at which point I guess I can increase my price and I can lower the rate of return that I'm offering. Well, that drove mortgage rates cheaper. Well, Trump has been trying to manhandle Chairman Powell for the past year, and Chairman Powell's like, you're not going to manhandle me. Like,
not giving into it.
Like, yes, like I'm going to do what I think is best. You're going to do what you think is best, and maybe somewhere we'll meet in the middle. So the Federal Reserve isn't going to just start printing money and purchasing mortgage-backed securities. And because the Federal Reserve's interest rate, the prime rate, doesn't have a clear correlation to mortgage rates, it's not like when the Federal Reserve drops their interest rate, mortgage rates go down. In fact, both times the Federal Reserve has dropped their rate over the past year, mortgage rates went up that day, right? So the way that you manipulate it is you purchase mortgage-backed securities. Now, back in the day, you would beg China to purchase them. You would beg Japan to purchase them. You'd beg pension funds. Like, the more people you get purchasing our debt, then the higher we can sell the debt for, the cheaper the rate of return is, which is mortgage interest rate. So the goal would be, let's use Fannie and Freddie's $200 billion and let's let them invest in these mortgage-backed securities.
In the hopes
that mortgage rates would come down, and they would. They would come down. But they would come down for how long?
And at what cost?
At what cost? And then what is the savings? So if they come down by 50 basis points, that's 0.5%. So 0.5% is roughly, and I do this math in my head, 0.5% would be $8 times 4, so 32. Yeah, so you're looking at roughly 32 times 4, so $240 a month, right? So on a $400,000 mortgage, you're about $240 a month. Is, if I did my quick math in my head right, that helps, right? That helps. $240 a month. is the difference of about $40,000 in purchase price, right? So all of a sudden,
So that does.
so all of a
have an
sudden,
impact.
if you couldn't qualify for more than 350, but you really wanted 400, rates being 5.5 and not 6 definitely helps you make that more
That
affordable.
purchasing power.
Yes, and more importantly, here's what it does: it unlocks inventory. So many sellers right now do not want to sell their homes because they have rates of 3.5 or 4%. They sure as hell weren't going to jump to 7.5%. But would they jump to 5.75? Maybe, right? Maybe they would. Like there's a certain threshold of pain that they're willing to accept, a certain threshold of pain that they're not. So we're going to have to monitor this situation. However, this same administration has been wanting to get Fannie and Freddie out of conservatorship since his first administration.
And it didn't happen then.
And it didn't happen then. They promised it would happen now. If you look at Fannie and Freddie's stock, it has jumped through the roof. Now, until recently, when they started announcing that they're going to use this $200 billion to invest in mortgage-backed securities, all of a sudden Fannie and Freddie's stock is down 15-20%. It's not good for Fannie and Freddie. That's their reserves, right? So that would be like you using your cash reserves to go purchase another investment property. Okay, it's not.
It takes that safety net out of it.
It takes the safety net. It's not like that investment property isn't going to be something you can sell. It's just something you can't turn to quickly if you needed the cash.
Yeah.
So I think the industry as a whole, the industry isn't thinking this is an amazing idea. It is like a sugar high, okay? It's I don't know, you wake up hungover, so you go ahead and do a liquid IV really quickly. It helps.
But it's
Add
not
2
gonna get rid of
Advil.
it.
Yeah, but it's not, you're still going to take you a couple days to work through that hangover.
But it does sound like if we needed to pick one of the 3 solutions that are being brought out right now, this is the one that's most.
It is. I would say
This is the
so.
one that would actually play into helping the middle part of America doesn't have the buying power right now, doesn't have the affordability. I mean, we still don't have the solution on the other side of having the supply for it, of having the pricing that we need to make it affordable. But it does at least play into the buying power side of things.
Yeah, no, it definitely does. And I think I like your take on that. I think this would be a great way for us to find a way to wrap it up. Hey, how are things going on the TLOP cruise? Have you and Steven connected recently?
We are ready to rock and roll.
Are you?
Yeah.
When is this going to be like officially announced?
You tell me.
Well, I mean, like we teased it last week.
So we're ready to start booking. We're gonna drop some details on that. But the date is set, September 14th. And we will drop more details as to the day-to-day activities, what kind of fun, crazy beach bashes Dustin's going to... You'll be in charge of that. I don't think Steve was too excited about that.
About the beach bash. We'll figure it out. But yeah, the dates
we do have those dates locked in.
September 14th through 18th.
The 18th,
okay.
Correct. Availability is limited, and this isn't a free-for-all. We want to keep this intimate, make it cool. So once we drop the actual booking procedure, make sure you jump on it right away.
And y'all, it's going to be affordable. I mean, I think all in, you're looking at less than $1,000 per person.
Per person, correct. And way below what you're going to see on it. Like, if you just forget about Dustin. If you just want to go on this cruise to check out Utopia of the Seas, which is an amazing ship, this is the time to do it.
Yeah. So Zulu's going to be helping us out behind the scenes, making sure that, she's making this event, not just our first event, but one of the best events of the year. And something that we'll build on in the future. How about this? So those dates are the 14th through the 18th. Depending on when this drops, I'm going to be at Mortgage Con in February 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. That's at Universal Studios. So if you're going to be at Mortgage Con, make sure you stop by and say hi. I don't think it's too late. They have a couple tickets available. It's probably one of the coolest events of the year because it's done at Universal Studios.
Can't go wrong with that.
No, at like the back lot. We have parties at Universal at night. We do the conference during the day. We'll be there podcasting. I think we're recording like 6 episodes from the event. So we have MortgageCon coming up. And if you have an event and you're looking for someone to come keynote, I guess look our way. I have availability for 5 more keynotes in 2026. I told my wife I wouldn't do more than 12. I've already booked out 7, but that means I have 5 available if having me at your next event is something you think would be cool, fun, or beneficial for your group, reach out to us. All the information is found on tloponline.com. If you're new to tuning in, we thank you. Spotify, Apple, give us a 5-star review. YouTube, make sure you are clicking that subscribe button. And remember, y'all, sharing is caring. She's Zulu. I'm Dio. That's all the time we have for you today. But we do look forward to catching you on the next episode.
Next
Peace.
time.